Berger. You can see the tweet there on the graphic. A $500 wager to win $40,000 on Matthew Wolff at 80-1, and then a $600 bet to win $18,000 on Daniel Berger, who is at 30-1 for the WGC FedEx St. Jude. And Wes, we know Daniel Berger is definitely a horse for the course. He's won twice here back in the day before it was a WGC event. And Matthew Wolff, to this guy's credit here, who made these bets, he's played pretty well the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I mean, both of those guys could certainly win. The one thing to keep in mind, though, with Berger on his course form is that his 2 wins here, back-to-back years in 16 and 17, were in the traditional FedEx St. Jude Classic, which used to be first week of June, either the week or 2 weeks before the U.S. Open. So it was a little bit different field, bigger field, standard PGA Tour field versus a WGC event where you've got most of the guys at the top of the world rankings here. That doesn't mean he can't win, but what kept me off of him is that I just thought the price was too short in a WGC event. I thought he probably should have been like 40-1 or so, considering the quality of play. And then, look, Matthew Wolff hadn't really done a lot since he won that 3M Open and broke our hearts for all of us that had the Bryson DeChambeau tickets last year, but came to life a little bit in Detroit at the Rocket Mortgage Classic, second there to Bryson, and then Bryson got his revenge, I guess, from losing that 3M the year before. But he also played, I thought, pretty solid last week at the 3M. I think he ended up just outside the top 10. I want to say 12th, but he was up there.
Admirable title defense. Right?
Yes, Brady, absolutely. No shame in that. So, look, we'll see. But that's definitely some major wagers, though, on futures.
Absolutely.
To bet several $100 on longer odd guys. So good luck to that player, but not too much good luck because I didn't bet either of those.
I'm with you on Berger. 30-1, a little bit too short. All of a sudden, this guy is being treated like one of the best players in the world, and I understand he's good, but
he's not. He's not
Brooks
in that
Koepka,
class.
Is he Xander Schauffele? I don't know if he's there yet. I do think he should be a Ryder Cupper. He is that competitive. 80-1, not a bad number on Matthew Wolff. I probably wouldn't dive in unless it was maybe a few ticks higher than that. But let's get to the plays we are on this week, and we will start with our colleague Matt Youmans. We'll look at his futures board. I know he is on Justin Thomas, and he and I were both on Justin Thomas at the Workday Charity Open a few weeks ago, and that was a tough one to swallow as he lost in a playoff and had a 3-shot lead with 3 holes to play. Justin Thomas at 12-1 this week. I would love to see him tick up even 13, 14, Wes, and I think I'd jump in. His stats are outstanding. Like you said, one of the few guys on tour that can win whenever and wherever. He is on Schauffele at 22. Webb Simpson, this looks like Matt's card for the PGA Championship. Daniel Berger, there's Berger at 30-1, also on Matt Youmans' future card, and then Gary Woodland at 41-1.
Matt Youmans is a ride or die man. He doesn't love you and leave you. He sticks with players. Justin Thomas, a Matt Youmans fave, as is Xander Schauffele. We'll get to him in a moment. Webb Simpson, who I believe he hit one earlier in the year on Webb Simpson, as did you in Phoenix. Woodland was one I did consider as well. I was on him both weeks at Muirfield Village. He was a contender at the Workday and was doing pretty well. Kind of fell apart a little bit late Saturday and fell out of that top 5, top 10 range. But excellent ball striker, always excellent in total driving. And total driving was actually something, and I don't look at that every week. It was something I did look at, though, because total driving basically is a combination of the rankings of driving distance and driving accuracy. And I think one of the things I looked at this week were guys that could get the ball out there a little bit, but were still accurate and had that right combination. And that's what led me on to Xander Schauffele when my plays come up.
I'm absolutely with you, Wes. I looked at strokes gained off the tee, not tee to green, but off the tee. I think how you play the ball off the tee this week is paramount, and not necessarily long. We've seen shorter hitters fare well at this golf course too, but efficient off the tee. I think you really need to be efficient, and that's what led me to Paul Casey and Xander Schauffele, a couple of other plays that we have that are similar. And then, of course, scrambling is a massive stat this week, and that is because you have very small greens. If you're not hitting the green in regulation, you're going to have to get up and down. And then being a par 70, I know you and I also looked at par 4 scoring. Let's take a look at the future plays you did put up on the board this week. I know you're on Schauffele. You mentioned the great tee to green game for Xander. And you've got the Englishman who you and I both hit at Bay Hill earlier this year. You're back on Mr. Hatton.
I know. I'm being the ride or die here with Mr. Tyrrell Hatton. But look, why not? I think he's still... I'm not sure quite yet if he's in that elite stead, but I think he's closing in on it. And he's only played twice since the restart, but a third in South Carolina at the RBC, a fourth in Detroit at the Rocket Mortgage. Did not go to Jack's place. But look, from a statistical angle, he's, I think, top 10 in Tour and greens and regulation. I believe you said he was second in strokes gained approach on the PGA Tour. He's fifth in strokes gained tee to green. His par 4 performance. Par 4 performance, I think, is going to be important this week because 8 of the 10 par 4s on this course are 450 yards or long.
Yeah, they're long.
So these are not necessarily Bryson holes where you can just drive it and then have a little short pitch or a chip onto the green for a potential eagle. But Tyrrell Hatton is really up there in the rankings. And then in scrambling, he rates third on the tour. This is a guy that I think has been very selective and very smart about the events he plays in. Hasn't really shown the rust that some of the other top players have shown, and he's been selective. So I do like Tyrrell at 38-1. Xander, I mentioned on a couple other shows here on VSiN, he loves these no-cut events.
Yeah.
And he's played very well. He's won at East Lake for the Tour Championship, won over in China for the HSBC, WGC event. The Kapalua, he won, and then he was in the playoff this year in Kapalua, losing to Justin Thomas. Patrick Reed also in that playoff. So Tyrrell Hatton was another one. You mentioned Paul Casey. I think we're both on him this week. This was just a play on the price. Paul Casey should not be 100-1 guy. I know he missed back-to-back cuts, but this is a guy that's top 10 in strokes gained off the tee, top 10 in strokes gained approach, 12th in greens and regulation. On tour and total driving distance plus accuracy ranking is Paul Casey, but we know what the bugaboo is for Paul Casey. It's the putter.
It's a short game.
Paul Casey becomes par Casey way too often, and has lost a lot of backers some money, including yours truly. 209th in strokes gained around the green, 210th in strokes gained putting. That usually isn't somebody you want to bet on, but the ball striking is so good that if you hit him on that week where he's making some, because even shaky putters make some weeks. So
well, this is what kept me off Paul Casey and then eventually got me on Paul Casey. He's 169th in scrambling. Mm-hmm. You mentioned his ranking in strokes gained around the green. That all kind of falls into that same pot as scrambling, and he's not very good in that department. But as you mentioned, a great driver of the golf ball, tremendous ball striker, hits a lot of greens in regulation. Now, we talked about these small greens at TPC Southwind. Where was the last time we saw Paul Casey have great success? Pebble Beach, the smallest green on tour. So I think when you can hit greens in regulation, when it's a small target to hit, that's an area where Paul Casey can flourish. And as far as the Bermuda putting surface, we've seen him win twice at the Valspar in Florida, right, which has Bermuda greens. So I was trying to get over that scrambling number of his, and I finally did. I saw him at 100-1, just like you, and I said that, there were some 80-1s out there, and I said that doesn't suit my fancy, but 100-1, I'm in on the Englishman.
Yeah, it's absolutely a price play for me on Casey. And then a couple quick mentions. Sun J.M. was more of a price play for me, too, at close to 80-1. 10th on the restart at Colonial, but has not been good since. He's tried to play his way out of a slump. I don't think he knows any different. He played, I think, 6 straight weeks, but did take a rare week off last week from Minneapolis, which I think could be good for him, and that was just more of a price play. This guy was playing like a top 10 player in the world before we stopped play after winning the Honda and then third the next week at the API. So I think you're getting a guy on a dip here. Scotty Scheffler just fit a couple things I was looking for. He's missed 3 cuts in 5 starts, so he doesn't really stand out to you, but very good in total driving, very good in strokes gained off the tee. And look,
His stats are there.
Yeah, it's not likely that he's going to get his first PGA Tour win, his maiden win against this caliber of a field. But 4 of the last 10 winners here in Memphis have won on their course debut.
Right,
so
debutantes.
Yeah, he is a tour rookie, but we know that this guy's got the goods and he's got the game. But sometimes it takes a while. But yeah, like you said, the stats were there in terms of total driving off the tee, par 4 performance, top 10 and all.
Yeah, Scotty Scheffler's been an absolute fade for me in the restart, but his stats are there week in and week out. He continues to play good golf. And then there was a buy sign when he finished 22nd at the Memorial. And I'm on Scotty Scheffler at 100 to 1. I was able to get Sungjae Im at 90 to 1. I mean, when was the last time you saw Sungjae Im at 90 to 1?
Yeah, he was being priced out of, I don't want to say post-pandemic because we're still in the pandemic,
right.
but the restart, I should rephrase it as that. Sungjae Im was being priced in like the 30s range.
Oh, yeah.
And now he's had a few shaky weeks, and all of a sudden he's tripled double, triple, 2.5 times the price. Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a really good player. He doesn't really do one thing outstanding, but he does
everything really well.
Yeah, he's not bad in anything, but he's not like, some guys are really good with approaches and some guys are really good with putting and whatnot, but they're weak in another thing. He's pretty consistent all the way around.
He is a very well-rounded player. Also, I took Sergio Garcia, and guy's been one of the best since the restart off of the tee. Decent scrambler, good ball striker, and I think maybe he's a little bit inspired about his fellow Spaniard and all the talk of Seve Ballesteros.
Mm-hmm.
Jon Rahm now number 1 in the world. We'll see if Sergio has a good week, and hopefully next week, too. Next week, we'll